All aboard!
Dear Mr. Whisson, if you are reading this, I am dead. After a hard-fought battle with the pneumonias, my lungs can take it no longer. That is why I write to you with haste. If I'm to be remembered for anything, I hope it would be my pride and joy, the Mary Valley Rattler, the very steam train you find yourself seated upon today. I want you to immortalize my legacy. Make every stroke upon your canvas a masterpiece. I trust, Mr. Whisson. You know how. Yours sincerely, Edward J. Monorail. P.S. Please find affixed to the back of this letter compensation for your services.
Well, this one proved to be a really good adventure. I think one of the hardest parts of this idea and concept was actually finding the right angle, the right setting. Being a train, they can be quite long, and that can prove to have quite a few dangers and difficulties. So with a little bit of experimentation and a bit of trepidation as well, because we had a few showers around on this day, so hoping for some good sunlight or a moment where we could at least retrieve a good reference image. So most times I find time is always, especially when you're working on site or you're working outdoors doing anything, there's always time, light, and just keeping those good conditions. And that's probably why we've done a balance of indoor studio sort of paintings and plein air. So just getting some of those really important darks in. It's French ultra blue and a little bit of light red ochre, which is very similar to Venetian red or a Terra Rosa. So nice darks, not quite black, but the beauty of the light red ochre, it keeps that earth colour in the mix, which will keep it a sound colour mix. That's why I never use black. Black's kind of my, or should be one of our nemesises really, because it's such a cold, flat, and I think the term is dead colour, because it's such cold, so cold, so cold. I think this is a 3/4 inch Eclipse brush, and we sort of think brushes just have one life, but I find, especially with the Eclipse brushes, once they start to fan out and splay and spread out, they're a really great foliage brush, grass brush. There's probably a few other clouds, doing skies when we want to really sort of get still quite a bit of control, but mostly needing that looseness and random shape. So you can see now I'm able to get a little bit of hit and miss, and quite often it can be a miss, but overall normally I get quite a few nice hits there with this brush, getting some lovely random shapes. As I said, now I've gone back to the hog hair brush, but I'll definitely be bringing that worn out brush in for the foliage. That's why it's quite funny with my online course. When I worked this out about 2 years ago, I said to the class what had happened, and you know, sometimes, as I said, you think the brush is worn out and finished, and I said, once your brushes are worn out, feel free to send them to me. I didn't get any brushes. I think once people realise just how you can use them and give them that second life, they hung on to them. This is an interesting little concept. I'm trying to put the windows in more accurately and more stronger, closer in on that first carriage, and then get it to fade and almost disappear and drop off as a shape, because we need it less and less. That's where the art of diminishing return. The further a shape goes away from us, the less information. So as I said, I wasn't too worried, or what I probably could have added was, I wasn't really too worried about painting the train, because I've learnt that trains, tractors, even boats, they all have a similarity. And one of the best tricks is to make sure the shape is too big, bigger than the finished shape that we want, because it's so easy to bring it down. a nightmare to try and make too small of a shape bigger. And I'm always cautious with these little trimmings that it's so easy to overdo it, so easy to overwork it and make it sort of a little too fancy almost is probably the best word. And that's why I'm really leaving out quite a bit, partly on purpose, but with the desire to control the viewer's eye and not sort of try and dazzle the person with detail, but more dazzle them with directness, information, ideas, and let it settle with that. As you can see, I've just sort of removed quite a bit of that shape there because it was just a little too strong. And actually with this one, I'm really sort of working on the primary focal area because my thought was no sense in getting all the landscape, all the grass area and all the trees in and then making a mess of the train. The train really is the driving force. So here we bring this big brush back in, but we still do have to make sure first priority is the right value, thinking that light and dark, and then greying off this foliage that's the furthest away. Getting a little bit of variation. If anything, there was probably a little too much variation in real life. So I always love to think in terms of unification as well. Because ultimately this is just a backdrop. We're wanting to, this is like the classic supporting cast in our story, in our movie, if this was a movie set, and the train, the actual caboose, the locomotive, that's our highly paid A-class, A-list actor. So we don't want too many things drawing the attention away from that shape. But I've pretty well got those buildings in. The foliage has come really nicely. And it's funny, it does take a lot of confidence, a lot of accuracy as well, but still does come back down to the basic light, dark, warm and cold. With this, it doesn't hurt to make sure you're stepping back as often as possible as well, because what always looks great up close doesn't always translate. So that's why I'm always thinking in terms of that overall view. And especially early on, when I only had the train in place, it was needing to work with a certain amount of assurity that the idea was going to work, was going to hold true and to form. And I think this was actually mostly a car park. So as you can see, I've used quite a bit of artistic license there. One, I didn't really want the big light. It's a gravel car park. I didn't want that light shape, but also we didn't need all the cars in either. So if I felt it was going to help, I would have gladly sort of put the cars in, and because there's not a bad grouping of cars there. There's almost a few colours the same, a few whites there. That little yellow car in the distance, that all reads quite well, but I was only going to pull focus over the train. So you'll notice that I do use a small range of brushes, and I think that does help with unity of brush mark as well. I think that's the ultimate thing is if I had a fistful of 20 brushes, I may struggle more to keep that unification of mark, because I do place a lot of importance on the actual texturization. That's why as I go back, I'm trying to lose the hog hair or any sort of grainy, thick corrugations, and that's where the Eclipse brushes are really marvelous. There was a little stand made out of steel, and I think both Alex and I were thinking, oh, should we Photoshop that out? But I thought it kind of was difficult to make it sort of visually understandable to the viewer. But I think in the end, it was just a really nice little shape that really did help tie the whole painting together. Some paintings really do take a greater effort to get the result that you want. It's walking around, really doing that legwork. But that becomes part of the adventure. And I hope you enjoyed this one. All the best. Bye for now.